Hello, so this is the golf gift guide for smaller presents. So if it's Christmas or a birthday or whatever it is, this is the guide that lets you know what to buy and what not to buy for under, say, £50, $60, I suppose, if you want to put it in dollars, something around that. So things that cost less than that, but don't cost really very much more than that. And I've also got another video which is slightly bigger presents, sort of dreamland presents, where Santa's just gone to town and you've just had everything you could ever wish for in your entire life. That sort of present and how to buy that. So where to start? You need to do a bit of research on who you're buying for, so you kind of need to know what handicap they are, how good they are, how often they play, that sort of thing. So you can't just buy anything for a good golfer or somebody that plays quite a lot. You've got to be quite careful with that. If it's a beginner, somebody's just trying golf and you know they've just started, the bar is not so high in terms of what you buy them. So you can get away with the jokey, corny, golfy presents, and it doesn't matter what golf ball you buy and that sort of thing. So this is just to let you know both sides of it. So I'll start with the glove section. So gloves, now bear in mind if it's Christmas, you're going into cold conditions a lot of the time, unless you live in the southern hemisphere, and then you're not, which I suppose some people would watch that. And yeah, well, let's just go through this as though you're buying for somebody in Scotland, because that's all I know, isn't it? Actually, I did live in New Zealand. Anyway, this is for somebody buying in Scotland. You've got cart mitts. These come in at about £25, and these actually go onto the trolley, stay on the trolley, and then you just push it along like that. So they'll actually work on an electric trolley, but also work on quite a lot of other normal trolleys as well. So that is a popular gift, and you wouldn't go wrong with that. Normal mitts, can't really go wrong with. Golf gloves, winter or otherwise, you've got to be careful with, because the fit is so key. So if you can return them, it isn't a bad gift. It's quite a nice gift. You get quite a sort of premium, good quality, even just a normal glove. If you can take it back and they know you can take it back, then that's fine. The fit's not right, but otherwise you've got to be careful. If you're just buying it online and you've got to send it back, so that's a faff. I couldn't be bothered with that, and I would advise you not to bother with just a normal glove that they would wear. But the bigger ones, if one size fits all, totally fine and a good present. And that one comes in a nice box as well, so it's quite easy to wrap up. What else have we got? Little bits and pieces. This actually is not a bad idea. If you know a golf club that they've played at, they went on holiday and they absolutely loved it, raved about it, these little souvenir type things you can get from the club's websites usually. If it's a bigger course especially, they'll tend to have a shop and you can send for these. So that would be extra brownie points for that if you went to the trouble of listening to their story first of all about this incredibly amazing golf course, and then actually went and got them something from there, which they wouldn't be expecting at all. So that's a good gift. And these are things like ball markers come out of that. And you'd even need to really know what they are, just if they look like nice shiny things on the website and they've got the golf club's name on it, you can't go wrong. Things like this, little bits and pieces like that are okay. That's a ball marker with a pen, so that you mark the ball in a certain way to line up for putts or to make sure that people know it's yours. That's not a bad idea, but I would be careful with little novelty gifts for golf. They can be a bit naff and a bit rubbish, and a proper decent golfer won't thank you for them. They kind of want serious presents. Like, for instance, this is a good combination for accessories, where you buy, stick to the big names. I don't know if you'll even know what the big names are if you don't know anything about golf, but TaylorMade, Ping, Callaway, Titleist, that sort of thing. And if you're getting accessories, kind of stick to those big major brands and maybe do matching ones. So you get TaylorMade and TaylorMade. If you know what clubs they've got, sneak a look in their golf bag, see what irons they've got, that sort of thing. What are most of the clubs, what's the brand, and see if you can match that up. Either get towels, hat, glove, whatever in that brand. That's a decent present. Oh yeah, here's a funny one. Iron covers. You've got to be careful with that. This is quite a particular type of golfer will get an iron cover. Not for everyone. So a decent thing, but unless you know that they've got some and they've lost them or they're looking a bit tired and tatty, that's a good reason to get them. And that's actually a good point as well, that you don't need to think that it's got to be something new. You can quite often just replace something they've already got with a newer, shinier, better version, and that's a good present as well. So it doesn't always have to be a completely new thing. anything that they haven't got, because most golfers, if they play a lot, will have most of the things that they need. But iron covers I'd be careful with. You kind of need to see that they've got some already, or it might not go down too well. But if you can return it, I suppose it's not the end of the world, but there's less risky things to buy than that. Again, this is more me. I'm doing this in the winter leading up to Christmas in Scotland, so it's kind of like I'm thinking about cold stuff. Woolly hats, can't go wrong because it's one size fits all. Unless your head is enormously big or small, then you might be in trouble, but if they've got an average size head, then you'll be all right. Now, Snoods, again, can't go wrong with that because most people have got a net of some description and that keeps them warm. So that's quite a nice thing. And again, match it up with brands if you can. If you're getting two things, you know, and stick to decent brands that seem to be mainstream. And also, that's not a bad idea. That's the club. Again, like I was talking before about Souvenirs, sometimes they'll have hats and woolly hats from the club that they think is the best golf course in the world. That's a good present as well. Head covers are fine. So that's kind of more of a standard shape and look. You can get, again, the ones from particular golf clubs is quite a good way to do that. Driver cover is probably the safest one to get, although have a look on the bag. If there's a club missing and it looks quite small, like a rescue club, or you can get smaller cover and think, well, that'll fit the one that you lost. Driver covers can be quite good, especially if they're ones looking a bit old, and again, from a golf club that they like. You don't tend to buy brand name ones that often. You can get them, but a lot of people, if they're buying a secondary cover, quite often it'll have a club logo on it or something like that. So that's a pretty safe present. But don't go buying stuff like this unless you know that they're going to like that or it's relevant. So they've got, you can get dog ones and whatever, bulls and all the rest of it and stuff like that. You can even get football club ones if you want. That's a decent shout. If again you think they might need a cover and they're that way inclined that they're not going to think that's utterly ridiculous. I wouldn't personally have that, but you know, I'm trying to look like I know what I'm doing, and that to me is a bit more fun, and golf is not fun for me. It is a serious business and I've got to play well, and if I was walking about with this thing, I'd be even in a worse mood looking at this thing and I was hitting this driver all over the place and I had this cow thing looking at me. It wouldn't cheer me up. It would annoy me. That's a parter cover as well. Difficult choosing parter covers because you've got to know the shape, and so I wouldn't go down this route unless you know the shape or size or style. And again, it's a bit of a personal one, so you've got to be careful with that. I don't know whether to put umbrellas in this sort of cheaper section because actually they're astronomical prices. I mean, this one here from Ping, £65. You don't have to spend that, but what I would say is don't get a cheap one, especially if you're buying one for somebody in somewhere like Scotland where it's blowing a gale all the time. These have got wind vents in them, so the wind passes through and doesn't blow it inside out and you're running down the fairway chasing after it. So they are good present. I mean, again, match it with the clubs or the bag that they've got. If you want to get good at this, you need to do a little bit of research and sneaking around and having a look at their golf bag and just seeing some brands and write those down, and you won't go far wrong if you match things up. So running out of no, we've got a few more things to do. Socks, can't go wrong with golf socks. Get golf specific ones if you can, FootJoy, Under Armour, that type of thing, and you won't go wrong. Always appreciated. Slightly boring, but you know, if it's in with a little package of accessories, then that's quite a nice thing. This is quite an interesting one, and a winter mat. I wouldn't normally have said this, but actually it's dual purpose. Yeah, people use these on the golf course and they would have one as a matter of necessity. But if you didn't have one of these, this is not bad for putting down in the back garden and chip into things so you don't take divots out of the grass and that sort of thing. You can actually even chip off hard surfaces or indoor. So not a bad little thing just to add in. They might look at you like, what have you got me this for? But if you explain that the guy on the video said that you could chip off it and it was a good way of practicing, you might be all right with that. But obviously slightly more off the wall one, and you don't need to take risks if you want to just keep it simple. And the last, I've probably missed loads of things out, but this is a good enough guide. The last thing I'm going to look at is balls. Now, golf balls can be quite tricky. Best thing to do is try and see what they've got in their bag, but you can't go wrong with this. Titleist Pro V1 is the best selling ball in golf, and virtually every golfer would be either pleased, or even if they don't use them, they'd still be impressed that you'd got them then. It's quite special. It's quite a nice thing to get a dozen Pro V1s at any point in time if you're a golfer. Even if they don't use use these, they could go and swap them at a shop usually and get what they want. They're quite expensive. You're looking at 46 to 50 pounds per dozen for these, and this is used by pros and all the rest of it, but amateurs like to use them as well. They'll work for everyone. In theory, certain players shouldn't be using them, but it doesn't stop them. There's kind of mid-range balls. That's not quite as low a mid-range ball as you can get. Chrome Soft's up to almost nearly the same price as this, but a little bit cheaper. But you can get ones a little bit cheaper, so 30 to 40 pounds per dozen. They won't go wrong if you stick to the sort of price. The main sort of brands, there's quite a lot of them, but you can't go wrong with if you stick to sort of 35 pounds is a good medium range ball, and then the ones in the 40s tend to be these sort of more premium balls. This would be good for a sort of average player that, well, Chrome Soft actually can be used by anybody really, but the mid-range balls tend to be more higher handicap. So again, that's that thing where you need to know their handicap. Comes in especially helpful if you're going into a shop asking about golf balls. The pro or the assistant will tend to ask you what handicap are you buying for. And the final category is more the budget balls, so something like Wilson Duo Soft. Again, it's absolutely fine for loads of players, and especially in the winter when the ground's soft, this sort of ball is absolutely perfect. These will come in at anywhere between 20, 22 pounds, anything up to 25 pounds would be more down that budget end. And that's for somebody maybe with a higher handicap who isn't particularly fussy about golf balls, but it's still nice to get a dozen box. You can buy these in singles, like a pack of 3, any of these, and you could add that into, say you got Titleist cap, Titleist towel and 3 Pro V1s or something. That'd be a nice little accessory pack to put together, but try and match up the brands, as I say, if you're going to do that, it looks better. Yeah, I think that's probably it for a decent gift guide for under $60, under £50, that sort of level. Obviously check out the other video that I've not actually done yet, which will be on bags, trolleys, clubs, that sort of thing. So anything over this sort of £60 mark. So yes, if you've got any questions, put them in the comments and I'll get back to you. But hopefully that was helpful and it helps you to become a better golf gift buyer in the future. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.